As I look back on the roots of my resilience, my mind always wanders to the humble beginnings in a quaint village nestled in rural Louisiana. There, amid the lush, verdant fields and mysterious, enveloping swamps, I, Essie, grew up under the tender care of my family. We were of modest means. My parents, simple farmers who taught me the value of hard work and the joy of living close to the earth. Our little house, always filled with love and laughter, was a sanctuary against the harshness of the world. Despite our lack, or perhaps because of it, I learned to cherish every small blessing life offered. Each morning brought the sweet chorus of the dawn, and every evening closed with the sun setting like a fiery jewel over the green expanse. I became known for my kindness. It was as natural to me as breathing. My heart, much like the fertile land we farmed, was ever open and giving. In our village, where everyone knew each other by name and life's rhythm was dictated by the seasons, I became a pillar of compassion, a beacon for those in need. Tragedy struck when I was just barely out of my teens. A relentless illness, swift and merciless, claimed the lives of my beloved parents. The weight of their loss bore down on me like the heavy, humid air before a storm. But the teachings of my parents did not falter within me. Instead, they rooted deeper, growing into a fierce determination to carry on their legacy. I inherited the responsibility of our fruit stand in the bustling local market, a vibrant hub where the community converged. Each day, as I set up the stand at the break of dawn, I felt my parents' presence in the delicate fragrance of ripe peaches and the rich, earthy scent of freshly dug sweet potatoes. Selling the fruits of our land was more than a means to survive. It became my way of connecting with my community, of continuing the nurturing spirit of my family. With every piece of fruit I handed over, I offered a smile, a kind word, a moment of connection. These small acts of kindness did not go unnoticed. They earned me the affection and respect of my fellow villagers, who saw in me not just the young woman who had faced great loss, but one who chose to respond with an open heart and an unwavering spirit. It was during this time, amid the kaleidoscope of faces and the cacophony of market sounds, that my story of resilience truly began. It was a tale not just of surviving, but of flourishing against the odds, holding on to hope, and nurturing a community with the strength of one's spirit. This was my life, woven into the very fabric of the village, a bedtime story of resilience to be told for generations. As the days melded into seasons and the fruit stand flourished under my care, life at the market became my world. It was a world alive with colors, sounds, and the rich tapestry of community life. Among the familiar faces, one stood out more brightly as time went by. Quincy, or as everyone affectionately called him, Koo. A local craftsman, his hands as skilled as his heart was kind, Quincy crafted beautiful, intricate woodworks that were as much a staple of the market as my fruit. Our first meeting was almost mundane, over an exchange of goods, apples for a wooden bowl. Yet there was something palpably different in the air when our hands touched as we exchanged our wares. His smile was like the dawn, bright and promising. Our friendship took root effortlessly, nourished by laughter, shared dreams, and the easy comfort of being understood. It wasn't long before the vibrant chaos of market life became the backdrop to a blossoming romance. Our bond deepened with the passing days, as natural and vital as the river flowing through our village. Quincy's charm was disarming, and his sincerity a balm to my still grieving heart. When he proposed, it was as if the entire village held its breath in anticipation. The joy that erupted when I said yes could have rivaled the jubilation of a bountiful harvest festival. The celebration of our engagement was a reflection of our life at the market, colorful, loud, and heartfelt, with every villager sharing in our happiness. Yet, in the midst of all the revelry, a shadow lingered, an unease that I tried to keep at bay. Marsha, Quincy's mother, was a formidable woman, her reputation for sternness and control well known. Her love for Quincy was fierce and protective, and I knew she viewed me through eyes clouded with skepticism and concern. Despite the undercurrent of tension with Marsha, I embraced my new life as Quincy's partner with open arms and an open heart. I was hopeful for our future together, believing that the strength of our love could eventually win over even the most resistant heart. As I stood beside Quincy, amidst the laughter and warm embraces of our friends and neighbors, I felt a profound sense of belonging and purpose. My life, intertwined with his, seemed to promise new beginnings and the chance to build a legacy of our own, one that would be as enduring as the stories told under the starlit skies of our village bedtime gatherings. The days following Quincy's departure with his father were tinged with an ominous silence that seemed to echo through the corridors of our shared home. As the carriage disappeared down the winding road, a knot tightened in my stomach, an unspoken fear about what lay ahead. Marsha's usually curt nods had turned colder since the engagement, her eyes often glancing my way with thinly veiled disapproval. The true depth of Marsha's disdain became apparent soon after Quincy's departure. It started subtly, an extra chore here, a critical comment there. But as days turned into weeks, Marsha's hostility grew bolder. She began to question my every action, belittling my efforts and dismissing my feelings. I felt my presence in the home we were supposed to share shrinking, as she increasingly treated me not as her son's partner, but as an unwelcome intruder. One particularly chilly evening, the situation escalated beyond mere words. Marsha, her voice cold and sharp as the winter wind, declared that my place was no longer within the warmth of the house, but out in the barn with the animals. The decree was surreal, a cruel twist that felt like a story out of an old, dark folklore rather than my life. Yet there I was, gathering my scant belongings under the watchful eyes of Marsha, her face set in a mask of grim satisfaction. The barn was cold, the hay scratchy, and the company of animals, though comforting in their own way, was no substitute for the warmth of a family home. Each night as I curled up under the thin blanket, the sounds of the animals shifting and the wind rattling the wooden slats were a stark reminder of my isolation. The emotional toll was immense, a relentless test of my resolve and spirit. During the day, I tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, managing the fruit stand and interacting with familiar faces whose concerned glances I met with forced smiles. But the nights were long and lonely, filled with doubts and fears about my future with Quincy and the life I had once envisioned so full of hope. In those dark moments, I clung to the memories of my parents' strength in the face of hardship, their love that had nurtured me even in the leanest times. I whispered stories to myself, bedtime tales of resilience and hope, trying to weave my own stories ending with threads of optimism and courage. But as the nights grew colder and Marsha's treatment harsher, I wondered how long I could endure, how much of myself I could preserve in the face of such relentless adversity. As the days stretched on and the cold seeped deeper into the barn, my spirits waned. Each morning, the frost greeted me like a harsh whisper, reminding me of my dwindling hope. It was during one of these bleak mornings, with my breath clouding in the chilly air and despair settling heavy around my heart, that salvation came in the form of Amara, my childhood friend. Amara, with her fiery spirit and boundless warmth, had always been a beacon of light in my life. Seeing me wrapped in solitude and suffering, she approached with a resolve that felt like the first rays of sunshine after a relentless storm. She noticed the shadows under my eyes and the forced smiles that didn't quite reach them, and it didn't take long for her to piece together the truth of my plight. With an indignation that only a true friend can feel, Amara invited me to stay with her, insisting it was only temporary, just until we sort this mess out, she had said with a determined glint in her eye. Her home became my sanctuary, a place where laughter replaced the cold silence of the barn. Under her roof, I found the strength to breathe and be myself again, away from Marsha's scrutinizing gaze. Together, we hatched a plan. It was born from long nights of whispered conversations and cups of warm tea, where we pored over every detail. We knew confronting Marsha would not be easy. Her formidable nature was daunting, but the stakes were too high. We aimed to restore harmony before Quincy's return, to mend the fragmented pieces of what was supposed to be a familial bond. Our plan was simple, yet bold. It involved gathering support from the community, those who had seen my struggle and who respected Quincy enough to care about his happiness. We reached out discreetly, sharing my story, my struggles, and my hopes. The response was a heartwarming affirmation of the community's support, their willingness to stand behind me, to ensure that when Quincy returned, he would return to a home filled with love and understanding, not strife and division. Each day at Amara's, my resolve solidified. Her unwavering support was a mirror reflecting the strength I had forgotten in myself. She reminded me of the stories I used to tell at the fruit stand, tales of overcoming, of hope, of not just surviving, but thriving. She helped me see that this was not just another dark chapter in my life, but a pivotal one where I could reclaim my story, my dignity, and perhaps even influence the ending of this real-life tale. With Amara by my side, I felt the storm within me settle into a determined calm. I was ready to face Marsha, to speak my truth with the backing of a community that had become my extended family. This was more than just my battle now. It was a testament to the power of friendship, community, and the unyielding human spirit to seek light even in the darkest of hours. As the leaves began to turn, signaling the arrival of a new season, so too did the winds of change sweep through my life. With each falling leaf, I felt a piece of the old fears and uncertainties drop away, replaced by a budding strength nourished by the support of my community and the unwavering spirit of my dear friend Amara. I was no longer the isolated figure in the barn, but a woman buoyed by the collective hope of those who believed in me. The day I decided to confront Marsha was crisp with the scent of autumn. The air held a bite, a reminder of the approaching winter. But inside me burned a fire fueled by resolve and the desire for reconciliation. As I walked towards the house I once shared with Quincy, my steps were steady, my heart a thrum of nervous energy and determination. Marsha was in the kitchen, the clatter of pots and the aroma of cooking food filling the space as I entered. Her back was to me, and for a moment I observed her, seeing not just the stern woman who had cast me out, but also a mother, fiercely protective, yet perhaps fearful of losing her son to another. Clearing my throat, I announced my presence, and she turned, her expression wary. The conversation that unfolded was perhaps one of the hardest I've ever had. With each word, I laid bare my pain, my love for Quincy, and my desire for peace. I spoke of the community's support, how they, too, wished for harmony rather than conflict. Marsha listened, her face a mask of stoicism, but I saw her eyes, once cold, soften as the truth of my words reached her. It was in the midst of this fraught reconciliation that Quincy returned. The timing was uncanny, as if the universe itself had orchestrated his arrival to coincide with this pivotal moment. His presence was a catalyst, stirring a whirl of emotions as he took in the scene. His fiancée and his mother, a tableau of tension and potential healing. The community, having rallied behind me, followed soon after, their arrival turning a private moment into a public affirmation of their support. The air was thick with anticipation, the collective breath of the village held in wait. What happened next was nothing short of transformative. Quincy, confronted with the reality of his mother's actions and the community's plea for peace, stood by my side. Together, we navigated the rocky waters of familial ties and expectations. It was not easy. There were tears, raised voices, and moments of painful silence. But through it all, there was also understanding, forgiveness, and the slow, tender mending of bonds. Marsha, faced with the undeniable love and support I had from the village, and seeing the steadfast commitment in Quincy's eyes, began to soften. The journey from strife to acceptance was gradual, each concession a step towards a new dawn. In the days that followed, our lives intertwined more genuinely than ever before. Marsha's understanding grew as she saw the love and dedication I brought into Quincy's life and into the community that was once solely hers. This transformation was not just in our household, but in my heart as well, as I learned the power of resilience, the strength of community, and the boundless capacity of the human heart to forgive and grow. As the season changed, so did our lives, unfolding into a tapestry rich with new colors of trust and mutual respect. My journey, marked by trials, became a testament to the enduring spirit of love and community, a true story of a new dawn. Years later, as the seasons continued to paint the landscape of our village in hues of change, the story of my journey, marked by the trials of love and the triumphs of reconciliation, had woven itself into the very fabric of our community's folklore. As an elder now, with hair touched by the silver frost of time, I often found myself surrounded by eager young faces, their eyes wide with wonder and curiosity. They gathered around the old wooden bench by the marketplace, my old marketplace, the very place where the seeds of my story had been sown under the shadow of adversity and bloomed in the sunlight of community support and personal resilience. With each telling my story, our story seemed to take on new life, a whispered legacy that fluttered through the village like the leaves of the ancient oak in the town square. The children listened, enraptured, as I recounted the days of hardship softened by acts of kindness, the cold nights in the barn soothed by the warmth of friendship, and the bitter confrontations that melted into the sweet embrace of family unity. My dears, I would say, with a voice softened by age but strengthened by wisdom, life will sometimes be as tough as the bark of that old oak, but remember, even the hardest wood can be shaped into something beautiful. Just as Quincy and I, and even Marsha, found a way to mend what was broken. The lessons of love, acceptance, and unity resonated deeply with the young hearts and minds. They saw in my story not just a tale from the past, but a living, breathing lesson that kindness does indeed beget kindness. The spirit of resilience, like a treasured heirloom, was passed down, inspiring not just acts of generosity, but a deep, enduring strength in the face of life's many challenges. In the twilight of my years, I could see the fruits of this legacy in the laughter of children playing by the stand where I once sold fruit, in the supportive nods of neighbors helping one another, and in the peaceful coexistence of old traditions and new ideas. My life, once a humble tale of survival, had blossomed into a communal narrative of hope and collective strength. As the sun set casting long shadows over the village streets, I would often sit quietly, a contented smile tracing my lips. The air would be filled with the soft murmur of leaves and the distant laughter of children, and I would close my eyes, my heart full, knowing that the legacy of kindness I had nurtured would continue to inspire and guide long after I was gone. This was not just my story anymore. It had become a bedtime story for generations, a lullaby of resilience sung in the quiet nights of our beloved village.